Good morning, everyone. It's Michelle. I hope you're having a fabulous start to your morning already. It's about 6:15 on Thursday, January, I don't even know what the date is, the 11th, I guess it would be. And I'm making meatloaf for dinner. Now, meatloaf is one of those things where you can be as creative as you want. There's no right or wrong way to make it. You just want to make sure that you're not just shaping some ground beef into a pan and putting it in the oven, because then all you're making is a giant hamburger. Your meatloaf needs flavor, and lots of flavors. So today I'm going to make one that has a little bit more of an Italian flair to it. So here's what I'm going to be using. I'm starting off with 2 pounds of good quality ground beef, very low in fat. You don't want a high fat meatloaf. On the other hand, some of you may argue, well, if it's too lean, then you're not going to have the flavor. Yeah, you will. Trust me. You're going to moisten it up with stuff that's a little better for you than fat, and then you don't have to worry about having one of those slotted pans for everything to drip out of, because if you're using a low-fat beef, you're not going to need the drippage. You're not going to have the drippage from the fat. So anyway, 2 pounds of good quality ground beef. I'm going to use 3 eggs, some milk, some oats, some Worcestershire sauce, some Parmesan cheese, parsley, Italian seasoning, ground red pepper, some dry mustard, and some salt and pepper. And this will get us started. So here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to start dumping my ingredients in the pan, or in the bowl. You guys know me, I don't measure. I just dump. So I started with 2 pounds here. It's just Mike and I, so only enough for 2 people. 3 eggs. That's approximately a cup of milk. For oats, let's put in probably a good cup of oats. You can use breadcrumbs. Mike and I try to shy away from bread. That's why I'm using oats. But you can use breadcrumbs, cracker crumbs, several dashes of Worcestershire sauce. But I love the flavor of that stuff. Lots of Parmesan. So I got a good 3/4 of a cup probably of Parmesan in there. Some parsley. It's a good tablespoon, maybe a hair over. Italian seasoning. Good 2 tablespoons probably of Italian seasoning. Ground red pepper. Just a couple sprinkles here. Obviously you don't want to overdo that if you don't like a lot of heat. A couple of sprinkles of some ground mustard. And then the 2 best ingredients in the world, salt and pepper. They can make anything taste good. I lie, they can't make anything taste good, but yeah, you need your salt and pepper when you cook. Have your pan ready when you get in here and start mixing. And then what you're going to use, hold on, need a sip of tea, still working on my caffeine. And then you're going to use, you've heard me say this before, the best tools that God has given us, our hands. So have your pan ready to go, and just get in here and start mixing away. It won't take long to incorporate this all together. And that's it. We're going to put this on the pan and shape it into a loaf. When I'm making a meatloaf, I tend to make it more long and flat than I do high, just so it cooks more even. If you do it in a loaf pan and it's higher in the center than it is on the edges, a lot of times your edges get dried out. and then your center is more moist. So I tend to make it low and flat. Perfect. Okay, now let's work on what we're going to put all over the top of that bad boy. Okay, we have our meatloaf. Now let's top it. I'm going to use several slices of bacon to put right on the top. You're going to get some fat from this, which is why you can get away with the very lean ground beef. Now let me wipe my hands. Now the rest of that bacon, I'm going to fry up, and we're going to use that in my side dish for dinner. So I'm going to scoop that to the side in a bowl. I'm going to put a can of organic diced tomatoes. I tried to drain as much juice off as I could. And to that, I'm going to add several heaping tablespoons of brown sugar. Now, if you wanted to use ketchup, or not, yeah, if you want to use ketchup or barbecue sauce, you could. Again, just because mine is more of an Italian flavor, I wanted the big pieces of tomato on it, but there's a lot of people that just aren't into that big piece of tomato thing, so use some ketchup. I wouldn't recommend the barbecue sauce though with an Italian seasoning in it, but hey, to each his own. And we're going to spoon this right on the top. Again, trying to avoid a lot of juice. And this will form like almost like a crust on the top, because we're going to bake this uncovered. Now, because it's only 6:30 in the morning, we're not going to bake this now. I'm going to put this in the refrigerator, and I work till 6 o'clock tonight, and obviously till I come home at like 6:15, I'm not going to just put this in the oven then. Fortunately, Michael gets home before I do, so I will be calling him from work around 5 o'clock. Actually, probably before that, because it's going to need to come out of the refrigerator and warm up a bit. So I'm going to call him around 4 o'clock and tell him to get this meatloaf out and let it sit on the counter for a good hour just to warm up, and then I'll have him pop it in the oven at 5, and this needs a good hour and a half. So that's it. I'm going to work. Well, I'm going to get ready first because I'm still in my jammies. But I'm going to go to work, and then I will be back later, and we will finish making this giant meatloaf. I'm back from work, so I wanted to show you what this meatloaf looks like. My wonderful husband put it in the oven about an hour and a half ago. Took the foil off about halfway through the cooking time, and this is what we have. Now I'm going to let it rest. Well, it's been resting for a few minutes, so I'm going to cut into this. Make sure it's done. And yes, that looks beautiful. Are you the sound effects guy?
Yeah, I do it too.
And we're going to serve that up just with some green beans. And tonight we're going to have wedge salad. I don't know if any of you have ever eaten wedge salad before. It's famous in steakhouses. We're going to pretend we're at a steakhouse tonight. So super simple salad. A wedge of iceberg lettuce, tomatoes, fresh bacon that I fried this morning, fresh crumbled blue cheese, although I'm using a gorgonzola, which is a little bit more pungent than a blue. And Mike's going to have some red onions on his. And then you're just going to drizzle that with a good quality blue cheese dressing. So I will show you my plate when it's all plated up.
So what about the diet?
What about the diet?
Let's go on
Well,
history.
the ground beef is a low fat.
Okay, that makes it, we're good then.
The blue cheese dressing is probably the worst thing here tonight.
It's turkey bacon?
No, it's pork bacon.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm always in trouble. And here's dinner with a nice glass of red wine and a good looking husband. Good night.